All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Give me a touch on the top prop bets here for week 7. Giving you guys my favorite PrizePicks bet slip and then also my favorite underdog bet slip. Let's go on and get into it. And so let's start off with just taking a peek at the board as it sits right now. Now, I did come out with a separate London game prop video there, talking about Jalen Poole, talking about Drake May. On paper, those are both going to be pretty good bets, but I want to call out some of the better bets that are popping up right now in terms of some big prop line differences that we have occurring right now. So, guys, looking at Colby Parkinson, his fantasy score line on Underdog, obviously, if you don't adjust it for PrizePicks scoring, it's set at 8.5. Okay, and that's very important because I'm about to show you guys here. That should not be happening. Okay, so when you adjust Colby Parkinson's fantasy score for underdog scoring, it's vastly too high. It's literally off by 1 without doing any adjustments. And we see he's projected to get 4 receptions and 40 receiving yards. That tells us just with PrizePicks scoring should be closer to 8 for fantasy score, has a little bit of a chance of scoring a touchdown. But already, just kind of looking at it in this regard right here, the data is already telling us that he's going to get his under fantasy score. So looking at this, actually one of the best bets is going to be Colby Parkinson to get under his fantasy score on Underdog. And then another one that I think is very worth calling out is going to be looking at Kirk Cousins. Okay, Kirk Cousins, the fantasy score is off by 2. Now, the nice thing about quarterback fantasy score prop bets is that we don't have to adjust these at all in terms of like half point PPR or full point PPR, which is pretty huge, guys. So Kirk Cousins' line is currently off by 2 on one of the sites, right? Now, overall, the average sportsbook line would actually be setting this at 16.25, but it would heavily be favoring the over there. So it's an interesting line. I actually think this one does, because of that, I think this one does have a pretty good chance to be a middle where we do want to bet it on both sides. Can get to over 17 for a PrizePicks score. Gets a pretty good matchup going against Seattle as well. We see he's only gotten this over twice, and so a lot of people are going to see that and probably want to naturally bet the under on Underdog anyways, which he, given the underdog line, he's only hit the over once, and that was that shootout against Tampa Bay where they kind of had a come-from-behind win. Now this offense has been looking good. Like, we shouldn't actually take that away from him last week. He played well. It was just that they were able to run the football a bunch, especially in the second half. Kirk Cousins didn't need to have a good game. Okay, and so if the Seattle offense is as good as they are, typically, then Kirk Cousins should have to throw the football more. Thus, we do have that little bit of a middling opportunity. I like the idea of betting is over fantasy score, but again, I could see why someone would want to bet the under fantasy score as well. That's also gonna be something I'm going to be doing. But on top of that, guys, we could actually stack him with Darnell Mooney to get over 4.5 receptions, which, again, if the game script is relying on that to happen, I do think it will happen. He's playing about 90% of the snaps. Seattle's defense has looked terrible, so I do think that the Falcons are going to be able to throw the football here. And so we can stack this, and it actually isn't adjusting the payout that much. And then that being said, another really good prop bet that we have, it has just been bumped to a goblin. It was a bet that I already made, but again, we're kind of just game stacking this game. It's going to be one of the highest scoring projected games on the slate. It's going to be looking at Geno Smith to get over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Again, I was able to include this on a bet slip, and I'm kind of okay with it. Now we're going to see, hasn't been able to get the over at all. Like, he's kind of, I don't want to say struggled, but had a few unfortunate situations. Obviously, in their last game, DK Metcalf nearly had 2 touchdowns they just missed out on. I would say more of the issue is the fact that he really is their only red zone threat. But again, given this high game total, I do like the idea of betting that. And so already we have a pretty decent game stack. Now let's go ahead and talk about some of the other bets that we have here. Chase Brown, obviously 12 for his under fantasy score, especially compared to Underdog at 11. I can see why this one's popping up, especially in comparison to the average sportsbook line of 10.69. At the same time, he is someone that's going to be playing in a game where they are projected to win by 5.5 points. And in those scenarios, especially last week with Zach Moss fumbling, he has been the lead back. And I worry that Zach Moss's fumble last week could actually be a point of contention to get Chase Brown the football a little bit more, maybe even starts this game. So that's one that I'm going to be staying away from. We got Josh Allen for under his fantasy score on Underdog as a good bet there as well. So 20 for a fantasy score does seem to be kind of too high against that Tennessee Titans defense that has been the toughest matchup for opposing quarterbacks. So I am happy to do that. So right now, guys, Kirk Cousins under his fantasy score, Colby Parkinson under his fantasy score, and then Josh Allen under his fantasy score on the underdog. I might not even have to pull up the underdog bet slip because we already have it there. So from there, let's talk about some other bets that we have. Here's one with Stephon Diggs where we are getting a big prop line difference between how PrizePicks and Underdog is valuing him. So that's one that you could run out, but I think Diggs is going to have a good game, so I don't want to be betting the under. I think, if anything, we would want to be stacking that game for a bunch of owners. Overs, I should say. Devonta Smith for over his fantasy score. Again, that's going to be a slightly better bet on underdog. So looking at PrizePicks, guys, we are getting a lot of spots where not that big of edges, but then we look at like Trey Tucker. We're getting to under 54% likely to hit. Obviously, we don't want to really chase those too much, but again, a decent prop line difference there. The data's telling us to bet the under. The Rams defense has been pretty bad at stopping receivers, stopping quarterbacks. One of the worst in the league. Typically, we want to be looking at over bets. So again, maybe that's a better underdog bet where they're probably devaluing him a little bit. You look at that offense, they're going to be without Devontae Adams, obviously. Then they're also going to be without Jacoby Myers. The only issue is that Trey Tucker is more of a gadgety type player. Like Christian Wilkerson is probably the player that's going to benefit the most with those two players being out again, to kind of mimic that role, whereas Trey Tucker is much more of a gadget type player, which to me makes him a little bit more unpredictable, not exactly someone we want to be relying on every single week as in terms of like betting on him to get a predictable result out of him. Dalton Schultz is an okay over bet. We are seeing, again, a slight prop line difference here between Tyler Lockett's, how he's being valued between the two sides, Travis Kelce. That's kind of the theme, is that we are seeing a lot of bets where the sites are kind of not exactly valuing them properly. Now, I know a lot of people maybe don't like to do the fantasy score bets, so let's just take those out real quick. So I'm just going to select all and take off the fantasy score bets just so you guys can see what are the best bets as it sits right now. And the board does become a lot tighter. So let's go ahead now and jump on into underdog, and I'll give you guys the PrizePicks bet of the day and then also the underdog bet of the day for week 10. And so looking at underdog, again, looking at it right now with all those bets, all those fantasy score bets not included in there, we are kind of seeing what we're looking at. If you guys want to run out any of these, you can. J.K. Dobbins to score a touchdown has a 53% likely to hit, but also his 2.5 receptions is favoring the under. Kind of interesting there. Jared Goff, will he rush the football basically? That's not a Neil. We'll see. But we are seeing the board is, obviously a lot tighter when we take those out. We did see a lot of really good tackles and assist props earlier on. I put a bet slip into the 9 to 5 Discord chat before these lines got bumped because we were getting big edges here, but these are still not bad. Hopefully those still stand. We got a decent one here for field goals made from Austin Seibert there, Washington's kicker, so I don't hate that as well. Let's kind of show you guys both bet slips that we're going to be running out. Now, before we get into the bet of the day, just want to remind you guys of the promo code that's currently going on the 9 to 5 website. Use the promo code Keep Cashing, get 20% off your first 9 to 5 membership. Turn that $10 membership into an $8 membership for the first month. All right, guys, so looking at the underdog bet of the day, again, we are attacking a little bit more the middling opportunities that we have. There are going to be good EV bets that pop up throughout the night, throughout the morning. Again, that's going to be popping up on the cheat sheets. You'll be ready to take advantage of those. Again, I like to roll with the fantasy score bets for multiple reasons. One, they typically are the best bets that are available on the board, but also it benefits you guys that are coming in and watching this video maybe 2 hours later than it's posted and whatnot, or maybe several hours later. Make sure that's not you. Hit that notification button. But looking at it, guys, again, Colby Parkinson, that one is pretty massive in terms of big evaluation difference between how PrizePicks and Underdog are valuing his production in this game. Basically, Underdog is giving him double the likelihood to score a touchdown than what PrizePicks is currently giving him. Like, obviously, if you just add up his receptions and his receiving yards, the under's already being favored there. And then we're kind of doing some middles here on both sides. So Drake May's fantasy score is definitely too low here on Underdog, especially compared to the PrizePicks line. Kirk Cousins line, as we discussed, is a little bit too high on Underdog. And then Josh Allen, a little bit too high here on Underdog as well. If you want to make it a 3-slip bet and just go with maybe these three, you can. I'm fine with that. Then I'll be running out this bet, but also like Sam Hauser under points was a good EV bet when I made this video, so I attached that to this slip. Again, those are going to be bets that are popping in throughout the day, but I did include that in there to make it a 5-slip bet because when I did that, the payout wasn't significantly reduced. It was basically a full payout, which is kind of huge when you're using a goblin bet like that. But again, we're seeing some decent prop line differences with Kirk Cousins and Drake May. Personally, I do think Drake May is going to have a good game against that Jacksonville Jaguars defense that has struggled to stop the pass. And also, I do think Kirk Cousins is going to have a good game. Just in the Seattle matchup, it's just whether or not he's throwing for touchdowns. Obviously, he's not going to be someone that's rushing the football that much. So a lot of his production is very much dependent on scoring or throwing for multiple touchdowns. And then Darnell Mooney is one of the better EV bets that we currently have for him to get over 4.5 receptions. That one currently has a 54% likelihood to hit. So obviously, we want to be targeting that bet. Now, guys, that's going to be all for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Good luck on all your bets. Again, if you guys want access to any of the tools that you saw in this video, the 9-to-5 PrizePicks cheat sheet or the 9-to-5 Underdog cheat sheet, head on over there. Get access to it for just $10 a month. When we use the promo code KEEPCASH and get it for $8 a month. Also included in that will include fantasy golf tools, NFL DFS tools as well. Head on over there and check that out. Leave a comment of your guys' favorite bet on the day for Sunday. Hopefully you guys watched the first look video because we got some pretty massive edges. All the bets that I thought would get bumped that we were on early, I think all did get bumped. And so we're looking pretty good there. All right. Thanks for watching. Leave a like. And as always, let's keep cashing.